In the lowest depths of the Ministry of Magic lies a place of utter silence and enigma. Behind a plain black door on level 9, the Department of Mysteries operates in shadows. Even Ministry insiders like Arthur Weasley admit they have no idea what they get up to down there. Those who work inside are called Unspeakables, forbidden to reveal anything about their studies. It is a secretive branch of the Ministry where time, death, and love are studied in silence. In Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry and his friends caught only a brief, haunting glimpse. A cool blue-white light flickers in the darkness. The air is cold, and countless mysteries are sealed behind unmarked doors. What really goes on behind those black doors? And what do the Unspeakables actually know? Picture stepping off the elevators at the Ministry. At the end is that featureless black door, closed to all but the initiated. Harry pushed through it and found himself standing in a large circular entrance chamber. Everything was black: floor, ceiling, and 12 handleless doors set around the walls. The polished, dark marble floor reflected the ghostly blue light so it looked like you were standing on still, black water. The moment the door clicks shut behind you, the room begins to rotate. Yes, the walls spin silently, the doors sliding around and around. When it stops, you won't know which door you came in from. Every door looks identical. It's a clever security device to conceal the secrets within. Only the Unspeakables know the trick to get out. Speak aloud that you want to exit, and the correct door responds by opening. Otherwise you could wander forever among those black doors in the flickering blue light, lost in the department's inscrutable design. The entrance chamber sets the eerie, otherworldly tone for the entire Department of Mysteries. It's silent except for the faint whoosh of the walls moving. No aides or guards sit here. The enchantments themselves are the security. Only those on official business dare proceed deeper. Harry came here driven by a desperate vision, and what he and his friends found were a series of baffling chambers, each dedicated to the deepest mysteries. One door from the circular hall led Harry into a long, rectangular chamber, filled with a beautiful, dancing light that sparkled like gems. Clocks of every shape and size ticked along the walls. Glass-fronted cabinets held hourglasses and strange time-turners. This was the time room, and its air was alive with the magic of time itself. In the center, a huge crystal bell jar emitted the room's shimmering light. Inside that bell jar, something peculiar was happening. A hummingbird-like creature rose out of an egg. It grew into an adult bird, then fell back and reformed into the egg. Over and over, an endless loop of time. The Unspeakables were clearly studying time's flow, even reversing and accelerating life cycles under that glass dome. It was mesmerizing and unsettling, but the time room's experiments were not merely harmless curiosities. The chamber held great dangers. During the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, one unwary Death Eater was blasted backward into the bell jar's aura and found his head trapped inside it. In a grotesque instant, his head transformed into that of a bawling baby, while his body remained adult. As he staggered out, the enchantment reversed. His tiny infant head swelled back into a man's, before cycling again. He was stuck in a horrific time flux. It was so bizarre that even amidst battle Hermione cried out, "You can't hurt a baby!" when Harry raised his wand at the thrashing, infant-headed Death Eater. This gruesome incident gives us a hint of the time room's experiments. Time is not a toy. In fact, the department had learned that lesson long ago. Unspeakables have been experimenting with time for centuries, with both breakthroughs and disasters. In the late 19th century, an unspeakable named Eloise Mintumble broke the limits of time travel and paid a terrible price. In 1899, Madame Mintumble became trapped 5 days in the year 1402, and it nearly destroyed time itself. When they finally pulled her back to the present, her body had aged 5 centuries. She died soon after, in St. Mungo's Hospital. The ripple effects were even more chilling. People she had met in 1402 had their timeline so altered that 25 of their descendants simply vanished, unborn from the present day. And for everyone else, time went haywire. The Tuesday after her return lasted 2.5 days, while the following Thursday sped by in the blink of an eye. The Ministry had a nightmare covering it up. Since that catastrophe, all great distances in time travel were deemed too dangerous. Professor Saul Croker, an unspeakable who devoted his career to time magic, helped establish the 5-hour rule. noting that no witch or wizard can safely travel back more than around 5 hours. Anything beyond that risks catastrophic harm to the traveler or to time itself. Thus, time turners were developed only for short-term use and kept strictly within the time room's confines. In fact, the entire stock of Ministry time turners was stored here, until Harry's battle with the Death Eaters smashed them all. When a stray curse hit the cabinets, every time turner was destroyed, undoing years of careful research in a cascade of glittering sand. Despite that loss, the time room remains one of the most fascinating labs in the Department of Mysteries. Time is a force nearly as mysterious as death itself. When a stray curse hit the cabinets, every time turner was destroyed, undoing years of careful research in a cascade of glittering sand. Despite that loss, the time room remains one of the most fascinating labs in the Department of Mysteries. Time is a force nearly as mysterious as death itself, but many more enigmas await through the next doors. Through another door, Harry's group found themselves in a vast, cold chamber, with a ceiling as high as a cathedral's. This was the Hall of Prophecy, and it was filled with row upon row of towering shelves, like some dark library archive. Instead of books, hundreds of small, dusty glass orbs rested on the shelves, each one faintly glimmering from within, or else dark and inert. Blue flame candles guttered at the ends of the aisles, but their light was dim, leaving the far reaches of the hall in deep shadow. The air was icy cold. Harry felt a chill just gazing at the endless rows of glass spheres. He and his friends had stumbled into the Ministry's collection of prophecies. In the wizarding world, when a seer makes a genuine prophecy, that prophecy can be magically recorded into one of these glass orbs. The Hall of Prophecy exists to store these fragile records. Each orb is labeled with names and dates, the prophet, and the subjects of the prophecy. But they are not meant to be casually consulted. In fact, a prophecy orb is magically protected, so only the person or people about whom the prophecy was made can safely remove it from the shelf. The only other person permitted is the designated keeper of the hall. Anyone else who tries to handle an orb will suffer instant madness. We saw this rule in action. The unspeakable Broderick Bode was placed under the imperious curse by Death Eaters and forced to attempt stealing one of these prophecy orbs. But the moment he grasped it, the orb's protective enchantment shattered his mind. Bode was left irreparably spell-damaged, hospitalized in a vegetative state. He later was assassinated in St. Mungo's by those same Death Eaters to silence him. This is the fate of anyone unworthy who meddles with a prophecy. The Ministry takes prophecy magic very seriously. But why collect prophecies at all, only to lock them away? Prophecies are, after all, predictions of the future, potentially very powerful, even dangerous information. Yet here they sit gathering dust, collected, stored, and then hidden away from the only people who can pick them off the shelf. As one observer noted, Dumbledore understood the reasoning. Prophecies can shape people's actions, but they do not truly bind our fates. As he gently reminded Harry, do you think that every prophecy in the Hall of Prophecy has been fulfilled? Of course not. Most sit on those shelves untouched, unrealized. In fact, a prophecy only has power if it is heard and believed. Voldemort made the grave error of acting on a prophecy he heard in part, effectively making it unavoidably true. By trying to prevent the prophecy, he marked Harry as his equal and, quote, created his own worst enemy. It's the classic self-fulfilling prophecy. Had Voldemort ignored it, things might have turned out very differently. Thus, the Ministry archives prophecies to keep them out of circulation. They are not for entertainment or casual divination, they are dangerous knowledge. Only those whom fate has marked, or the Hall's keeper, may retrieve an orb, presumably so that if a prophecy does concern you, you have the right to know it. But otherwise these predictions slumber, largely forgotten. Harry's own fate was entwined with one of those dusty orbs on row 97. He found a small glass sphere labeled with his name and Voldemort's, containing the prophecy Sybil Trelawney made about the one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord. In the climactic moment, Harry was able to lift it because it was about him, but in the ensuing fight, the orb was smashed. The prophecy inside was lost, though Dumbledore later revealed its contents from his memory. In the battle, dozens of other prophecy orbs were also shattered. Shelves toppled as Harry's friends cast reductor curses to slow the Death Eaters. Fragile glass spheres burst by the hundreds. their silvery wisps of prophecy voices spiraling up and vanishing. Years, perhaps centuries, of collected prophecies were destroyed in one chaotic night. It's chilling to think what knowledge was lost, or perhaps freed, in that destruction. To this day, the Hall of Prophecy's purpose and its gloomy aisles raise many questions. Why keep prophecies at all, if not to consult them? One theory is that the Unspeakables study the nature of fate itself. Are prophecies set in stone, or can they be thwarted? The hall might be a research library for destiny, safely isolating these potent predictions. Whatever the case, only the Unspeakables and the Minister of Magic, perhaps, knew the full catalogue of what was stored there. For the rest of the wizarding world, the Hall of Prophecy was a mere whisper of rumor, until the events of 1996 made its existence public. Even then, its secrets remained largely intact. Shattered glass aside, prophecy, it seems, will always be mysterious and dangerous magic. If prophecies record the mysteries of the future, another chamber delves into the mysteries of the mind. During their desperate escape, Harry and company burst into a long, rectangular room lit by low-hanging lamps. Inside, they found something straight out of a nightmare. A large tank full of brains, floating dreamily in a green solution. Yes, human brains, apparently alive, bobbing in liquid. Ron, gaping at them, gave a nervous laugh. "Hey Harry, there are brains in here, isn't that weird?" He had no idea just how weird it would get. When Ron foolishly summoned one from the tank with a spell, the brain flew at him, broke apart, and then attacked. Long, glistening tendrils erupted from it and wrapped around Ron's arms, binding him. These feelers were not flesh and blood tentacles, but something more uncanny. They were described as iridescent ribbons that seemed to emanate thoughts and memories, which began burning Ron's mind with visions as they constricted him. It was a harrowing scene, as if the brain's very thoughts had come to life to defend it. Eventually, the brain was blasted off Ron, leaving him badly shaken and scarred by the encounter. What on earth were those floating brains? The Department of Mysteries is clearly studying thought here, attempting to unravel the essence of consciousness. The tendrils that attacked Ron were implied to be physical manifestations of thoughts themselves. Imagine thoughts that can touch you, wrap around you, even strangle you. The brain room seems to suggest that ideas have a tangible power. This raises bizarre questions. Whose brains were these? Were they grown artificially or taken from living beings? Could they contain the memories or intellect of great wizards? The official word is that the brain room is devoted to studying the concept of thought, but the details are unknown. Unspeakables do not share their research. All we have are the clues from that night. We saw aggressive brains swimming in enchantment, trailed by deadly tendrils. We know they constricted Ron and caused him pain with hallucinations of thoughts. We suspect the Unspeakables might be examining how thoughts can be made corporeal, or how the mind's power can influence the physical world. It's unsettling, to say the least. As one Wizarding World commentary wryly asked, are they a new entity, or did they used to belong to someone? And just why are they so angry anyway? We don't know. What is clear is that the human brain, the mystery of thought, memory and consciousness, is a subject of great interest in the department. In this chamber, the line between mental and material blurs. The Unspeakables likely observe these brains to unlock how thoughts work, how memories are formed, perhaps even how to manipulate or preserve intelligence. It is a very odd place, as Luna Lovegood would say. A place where ideas can literally bite back. After witnessing the brain attack, none of the young intruders were keen to linger. They fled, leaving the brains bobbing gently once more, secrets intact. Perhaps the most ominous room Harry entered was a dark stone auditorium, known officially as the Death Chamber. This large square room resembled Courtroom 10, where the Wizengamot meets. Stone benches in steep tiers, all encircling a wide pit sunk in the middle of the floor. In the center of that pit stood a raised stone dais, and upon it an ancient crumbling archway that supports no wall. Hanging from the arch was a tattered black veil, gently fluttering although no breeze could be felt. The veil's ragged cloth stirred, as if something just beyond sight had brushed it. This mysterious archway had an aura of deep, eerie power. Both Harry and Luna found themselves unexplainably drawn to it, almost hypnotized. From the moment he entered, Harry felt compelled to approach the dais. And as he did, he realized he could hear whispers, faint, indistinct voices murmuring from beyond the veil's darkness. "Can't anyone else hear it?" Harry asked, enthralled by those faint voices. None of his friends could. None, except Luna Lovegood. "I can hear them too," Luna breathed. "There are people in there." To her, someone who had lost her mother and believed strongly in an unseen world, the whispers were clearly voices of people beyond the veil. Hermione, unnerved, insisted there was no one there at all, just an archway, just death. This chilling exchange captures the enigma of the veil. Some, like Hermione or Ron, heard only silence. But to those who have been touched by death, Harry, who saw his parents die, and Luna, who saw her mother die, the veil was not silent. Take Sirius an age to fall. His body curved in a graceful arc as he sank backward through the ragged veil, and he disappeared behind it. The curtain fluttered for a moment, then fell back into place. And Sirius was gone. No body was ever recovered. He had vanished from the living world. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, Harry lost his beloved godfather to the unknown realm beyond the veil. It was a heart-wrenching moment. Harry, in shock, even wanted to dive in after him, convinced for a second that Sirius might simply be hiding just out of sight on the other side. But Lupin restrained him, and the awful truth set in. Sirius was dead. The veil had taken him. Later, Dumbledore confirmed that Sirius had passed beyond the veil and could not return. In Deathly Hallows, it's noted that no funeral was held for Sirius, because his body was never found. This is a chilling confirmation of the veil's one-way nature. What exactly lies beyond that veil remains one of the deepest mysteries of the wizarding world. Is it truly an entrance to the afterlife? A direct portal to the land of the dead? If so, why do only some people hear the voices? One intriguing theory is that it depends on one's openness to the spiritual or one's experience with loss. Essentially, a person's belief in or closeness to death affects their perception. The department never released any findings, if they have them, about what the veil really is. Unspeakables likely have spent years studying it, perhaps sending instruments or charms through it, listening to those whispers. But if they learned anything, it's kept secret. The veil stands as an object of awe, an ancient, haunting mystery that reminds even the greatest wizards how little they truly know about death. As the official Wizarding World writing put it, it's a portal from which the whispers of the dead can be heard. Could it be a gateway between the living and the dead? If so, why can't people come out the other side? What happened to Sirius once he passed through? These questions remain unanswered. In the end, if we knew the truth, there'd be little point in calling it the Department of Mysteries. The Death Chamber, more than any other, lives up to that name. It holds a secret we are not meant or ready to unravel. Not every door in the Department of Mysteries yielded to Harry's friends that night. There was one door they could not open. A door that remained locked at all times, even to the Unspeakables except under special circumstances. Behind it lies what Dumbledore called the most mysterious of the many subjects for study in the department. When Harry first tried this door, he found it impenetrable. Even a magical unlocking knife, a tool that could pick almost any lock, melted and broke against it. The door resisted Alohomora and all other spells. It seemed warded by ancient, powerful magic. This is the Everlocked Room, commonly called the Love Chamber, though that name is never spoken outright in the books. After the events at the Ministry, Harry finally learned what was inside. In Dumbledore's office, the old headmaster revealed the truth about that locked room. "There is a room in the Department of Mysteries," Dumbledore told Harry, "that is kept locked at all times. It contains a force that is at once more wonderful and more terrible than death, than human intelligence, than the forces of nature. It is also perhaps the most mysterious of the many subjects studied there." What was he describing? Not some weapon or dark magic, but love. In Harry's case, it was his capacity to love, exemplified by his mother Lily's sacrificial protection and Harry's own loving heart, that saved him repeatedly. It is the power held within that room that you possess in such quantities, and which Voldemort has not at all, Dumbledore said, explaining how Harry's love repelled Voldemort's possession attempt. The locked room is, essentially, the department's study of love, that mysterious, powerful force born of emotion and will. Why keep it locked, though? Dumbledore implied that love is incredibly potent and dangerous if mishandled. It's a greater mystery than death or time, and perhaps cannot be quantified or experimented on easily. The room presumably contains or harnesses this power of love in some controlled way. Little is known about the love chamber itself, fittingly. Unspeakables have likely tried to understand the magical underpinnings of love. How a mother's love gave Harry magical protection. How love can leave an imprint, like Snape's undying love for Lily, or create magic like a Patronus. According to later Wizarding World writings, there are rumors about the chamber's contents. It is said that the room features a fountain or well of Amortensia, the most powerful love potion. Imagine a great fountain brewing Amortensia's distinctive aroma, perhaps to study the effects of distilled obsession versus true love. Some speculate this might be where love potions were first created or refined. All we know for sure is that the door is always locked, and Dumbledore clearly respected, even feared, the force inside. More wonderful and more terrible than death, he said. Love's ability to heal and to destroy is unparalleled. It was love that enabled Harry to survive Voldemort's curse as a baby, and love that later caused Harry to walk willingly into death to save his friends. That same primal magic ultimately protected everyone Voldemort tried to kill at Hogwarts. No wonder the Unspeakables study it. Love is perhaps the ultimate magic, something Voldemort never understood and thus underestimated. Harry never got to see inside the love room. When he tried during the mission, a burst of magical energy from behind the door blasted him backward and singed his arm. Dumbledore suggested that no magic surpasses the power of love, and that it was kept there in a contained form for study. The door stays locked at all times, because if that force got out unrestrained, who knows what could happen. It might be impossible to control, or too dangerous for casual exposure. In a way, it symbolizes that love cannot simply be unlocked on command. It's a profound, untamable power. The love chamber stands as a hopeful counterpoint to the death chamber across the hall. One room delves into mortality and loss. The other guards the secret of what makes life worth living. But notably, the Unspeakables treat love with the same clinical, secretive approach as their other subjects. Can something so deeply human truly be studied under glass, like a brain or time-turner? That question itself might be why the room is locked. Love, in the end, resists dissection. It is perhaps the most mysterious subject of all, just as Dumbledore said. We only know that love saved Harry Potter, and somewhere in the Department of Mysteries, the Unspeakables are trying to understand why. Who are the people that operate this shadowy department? Fittingly, we know very few Unspeakables by name, and those we do know, mostly through unfortunate circumstances. The Unspeakables are a select group of witches and wizards who pursue this confidential research, and never speak of it to outsiders. When they take up the job, they effectively take a vow of silence. The title Unspeakable itself tells you everything. They cannot divulge what they see or learn. Not to friends, not even to family. This intense secrecy is necessary given the potentially earth-shattering nature of their research. After all, these are people tampering with time travel, death, the mind, and fate. The Ministry keeps a tight leash on that knowledge. From what little we've gleaned, Unspeakables tend to be highly intelligent, specialized wizards, often with a scholarly bent. They are granted immense independence in their work. Even the Minister for Magic has limited authority over the Department of Mysteries. In fact, years ago one minister, Minister Lestrange in the 1830s, attempted to shut the department down, and the Unspeakables simply ignored the order and continued their work. That's how crucial and autonomous this department is. They answer to knowledge itself, one might say, more than any political power. Some known Unspeakables include Broderick Bode and Saul Croker, whom Arthur Weasley casually pointed out to Harry at the Quidditch World Cup, saying, quote, "That's Bode and Croker, they're Unspeakables. Top secret, no idea what they do." Bode, as mentioned, tragically fell victim to the prophecy protections. Saul Croker, on the other hand, is famous for his work on time magic. Professor Croker spent his entire career in the Department of Mysteries, and it was he who articulated the limits on time travel. Croker stated that no one can go back more than 5 hours without serious harm to themselves or time, and his guidance helped shape the safe use of time turners. We have a direct quote from him in a Ministry report. all attempts to travel back further than a few hours have resulted in catastrophic harm. All such experiments have been abandoned since 1899, when Eloise Mintumble became trapped for 5 days in 1402. We've already heard that grim story. Croker was likely her colleague or successor, documenting the fallout and ensuring stringent laws were placed on time travel research. So Croker is one unspeakable we actually know as a person, not just a mystery man. He gave an interview, in a very limited, approved capacity, on time travel, but even then he spoke in measured terms. It shows that Unspeakables might occasionally publish findings in a controlled way to guide policy, like the regulation of dangerous magic, but they'll never tell the whole story. Another unspeakable of note is Augustus Rookwood, but he's known for a dark reason. Rookwood was an unspeakable who became a spy for Voldemort during the First Wizarding War. He leaked secrets of the department to the Death Eaters until he was caught and sent to Azkaban. What confidential experiments he revealed to Voldemort, we don't know. But Voldemort highly valued Rookwood's information, and after Rookwood's escape in the mass breakout of 1996, Voldemort pressed him for details about the Hall of Prophecy. It was Rookwood who told Voldemort that only Harry, or Voldemort himself, could safely retrieve the prophecy orb, a crucial piece of intelligence that shaped Voldemort's plot. So even within the Department of Mysteries, there was espionage afoot. Rookwood's betrayal shows that the knowledge down there could be weaponized in the wrong hands. He was essentially selling state secrets of magic to the Dark Lord. After the war, one imagines security around the department became even tighter as a result. We also have hints of other unspeakable projects from canon. In the Tales of Beedle the Bard, Albus Dumbledore's commentary notes that as far back as 1672, Department of Mysteries researchers studied the origins of magic in wizards, conclusively determining that magical ability is something a person is born with, not something you can acquire or steal. This was referenced to debunk a fable about a foolish king trying to learn magic. It's fascinating to think the Unspeakables were conducting such fundamental research, likely involving genealogy, charms, and who knows what, over 300 years ago. So their studies truly range from the cosmic to the personal, the origin of magical power, the essence of love, the fabric of time, the boundary of death. Virtually every profound question in the wizarding world, things most take for granted or fear to touch, is examined quietly by these Unspeakables. They operate with minimal oversight, and often their successes, or failures, are kept out of headlines. You won't find a Daily Prophet article on Ministry cracks time travel. If they did, it would be classified or the knowledge suppressed for safety. Indeed, when Hermione's time-turner use at Hogwarts was authorized, it was considered a big exception, and the Ministry was very cautious, because they knew what uncontrolled time magic could do. That caution comes directly from the Unspeakables' hard-won knowledge. Given their secrecy, one might wonder, what kind of person becomes an unspeakable? Likely those who have a passion for pure research, and a high tolerance for secrecy and isolation. They might be a bit like mad scientists or philosophers, probing questions that others won't or can't. There's also a suggestion that some Unspeakables could be unsung heroes, quietly ensuring dangerous magic stays under control. For instance, someone must have cleaned up the destroyed prophecies and broken time-turners after the battle, and worked to rebuild the chambers. The department was functional again by the time of the Second Wizarding War, since Voldemort briefly took control of it. We hear that in Deathly Hallows. The Unspeakables likely had to answer to Death Eater masters for a time, which must have been terrifying. Imagine being forced to share your secrets with people who would abuse them. We don't know how they fared, or if any rebelled. But given the mystique around them, one suspects they kept their heads down and waited out the storm, protecting their mysteries as best they could. In summary, the Unspeakables serve as the guardians of knowledge too dangerous or profound for general society. They are akin to a monastic order of magical researchers, working in the bowels of the Ministry, silently and diligently expanding the boundaries of wizarding understanding. Without them, the wizarding world might never have discovered the limits of time travel, the truth about the veil, or the nature of prophecies. And yet, because of them, the average witch or wizard can live in blissful ignorance of these perilous truths. It's a thankless job. No fame, no fortune, not even the ability to brag about your work at dinner parties. But it must be a fascinating one. Thus far, we've explored the known rooms Harry saw: time, prophecy, brain, thought, death, and the locked love chamber. But remember that circular entrance hall with 12 doors? Harry's group only managed to get through a handful of them before they were ambushed. That means there are other rooms in the Department of Mysteries we never laid eyes on. What lies behind those remaining doors? Here we must tread into the realm of informed speculation and rumor, because the Ministry has never confirmed what other mysteries are studied there. One chamber we only glimpsed briefly was a space chamber, a dark room full of floating planets suspended in mid-air like a miniature cosmos. Luna Lovegood described it as a very odd place, where at one point she blew up a replica of Pluto to impede a Death Eater's attack. This suggests the Unspeakables are also investigating the mysteries of the universe itself, the stars, space, maybe even extraterrestrial magic. Wizards typically don't focus on astronomy beyond basic star charts for divination, so the idea that one room simulates outer space is tantalizing. It raises whimsical questions. Do wizards know things about the cosmos that muggles don't? Is there magic on other planets? Could there even be alien life or alien magic users out there? The Department of Mysteries might be quietly exploring such questions. After all, space and time are interconnected frontiers. If time is a limit of magic, perhaps space is as well. Maybe they have found the magical boundaries of how far from Earth wizardkind can go. This is unconfirmed, but the presence of that planet room strongly hints the department's research goes beyond earthly concerns. Some wizarding theorists have guessed at other possible chambers. For instance, might there be a life chamber, studying the origin of life, or the essence of souls? There is the death chamber for death. What about its opposite? It's pure conjecture, but given that the department had a hand in studying wizard genetics, as Dumbledore's notes indicated, perhaps one chamber is devoted to the spark of magic in living beings, essentially the miracle of life, and magic's role in it. Others have speculated about a memory chamber, or dream chamber, given how important memories and dreams are to magic, e.g., pensieves, prophetic dreams. Could there be a room with devices that capture dreams, or extract the power of imagination? Again, nothing concrete supports this, but it's the kind of arcane research topic that wouldn't be out of place in the Department of Mysteries. One rumor that circulated, courtesy of the Quibbler of course, was that Cornelius Fudge was using the Department of Mysteries to develop terrible poisons, to surreptitiously dispose of his enemies. Luna Lovegood once calmly asserted this conspiracy theory, claiming the Unspeakables were brewing lethal concoctions for the minister to slip to people who disagreed with him. There's no evidence this was true, and it sounds more like typical Quibbler paranoia, but it goes to show how the department's secrecy breeds wild stories. If you're an average witch or wizard, and you know nothing about that section of the ministry, it's easy to let the imagination run rampant. Perhaps that was one benign purpose of its secrecy. Better to have people invent crazy theories, than to know, for example, that the ministry has a veil that literally lets you talk almost to the dead. Another enduring mystery. What became of the research in the department after Voldemort's final defeat? The Department of Mysteries was presumably restored after the battle. They would have repaired it and perhaps replaced the time-turners eventually, as we see in later canon like The Cursed Child, where experimental time-turners exist. But no Harry Potter book ever revisits it. Did the Unspeakables ever figure out more about the veil? Dumbledore seemed to have a personal interest in that. He studied the Resurrection Stone and other Deathly Hallows, but even he did not fully explain the veil. It's likely that to this day, much about that arch remains unknown, even to the Unspeakables. Perhaps they quietly continued to study it. Maybe even sent a probe or an enchanted object through to see what happens. Some fans have imagined experiments like tying a rope to a wizard and dipping them through. Very grim ideas. There's no record of such an event, thankfully. Rowling did mention that the veil's archway has stood in the ministry as long as the ministry itself, implying the government built their headquarters around this ancient artifact. If true, it means the Unspeakables didn't create the veil. They inherited it. This tantalizing hint suggests there are deep historical or even magical religious secrets tied to it. Was it part of an ancient temple or a gateway used by the Unspeakables of a previous age? We can only speculate. The very name Department of Mysteries invites endless questions. Magical folk have never been shy about seeking knowledge, but here is a ministry division that essentially says, leave it to us, don't ask. It makes one wonder if some discoveries were deemed too dangerous to reveal. For example, if the Unspeakables ever conclusively learned what happens after death, would they tell the world? Probably not. It could upend society's beliefs, or be horribly abused. Imagine a dark wizard trying to use that knowledge to become immortal, etc. If they found a way to manufacture love or bottle fate, would that become a weapon, or a tightly kept state secret? In a way, the department's work raises ethical issues as much as magical ones. They must constantly decide what not to do with the knowledge they gain. Finally, let's consider the personal impact on those who work there. Being an unspeakable might be thrilling but also isolating. We saw poor Broderick Bode, who was an unspeakable for years, end up mentally damaged by the very subject he studied. Could it be that some mysteries fight back, like the brains did? Perhaps an unspeakable in the love chamber might accidentally fall victim to obsessive love potion fumes, or a time room researcher might lose track of their age. From all the temporal shifts, it's a dangerous job for the mind and body. They truly are on the frontier of wizarding knowledge, often beyond the bounds of safety that other departments follow. All of this is to say, there are likely many secrets of the Department of Mysteries that we, as readers and fans, still don't know, and may never know. J.K. Rowling deliberately left it one of the most open-ended parts of her world, allowing our imagination to wander those dark halls indefinitely. It's fun, and a little scary, to imagine what else might be hidden there. As Dumbledore wisely put it, the room that housed the power of love was kept locked for a reason. I suspect the other locked doors likewise conceal things we are not yet meant to see. Even after 7 books and all the revelations in Harry's journey, the Department of Mysteries remains one of the most shadowy, unexplained corners of the wizarding world. It's a place where magic is studied at its extremes, where unspeakable secrets literally lie under lock and key. We've gotten rare peeks behind the curtain, the glitter of time turners, the shimmer of prophecy orbs, the whisper of the death veil, the tangible tendrils of thought, and the notion of love itself locked away for study. But so much is still unanswered. In many ways, that only adds to the department's mystique. It reminds us that in Harry's world, as in our own, some questions don't have easy answers, and some forces of life and death remain beautifully, terrifyingly mysterious. One can only imagine what it's like to walk those silent halls as an unspeakable, knowing each door could hold wonders or nightmares. Perhaps, in the end, it's better that we don't know all these answers. After all, as the department's existence shows, knowledge can be as dangerous as it is powerful. Still, the allure of those mysteries is hard to resist for a curious mind. The black doors of the Department of Mysteries seem to whisper, "Come in, if you dare." So I leave you with a question to ponder, a bit of a dare for your imagination. If you could choose to safely explore just one room in the Department of Mysteries, and survive whatever you found, which one would you pick? Would you open the door to the past and future in the time room? Would you seek the whispers beyond the veil in the death chamber? Study the power of love in its secret vault? Or perhaps unravel the brains and thoughts in that eerie tank? Let me know in the comments which mystery calls to you the strongest, and why. But be careful what you wish for. The truth can be a double-edged sword. Until next time, remember, in the wizarding world, not all secrets are meant to be known. Some remain, and maybe should remain, unspeakable. Stay curious, stay cautious, and mischief managed.